to the new episode of the First Responder Playbook. It is my pleasure to introduce my guest, Pat Welsh. Pat Welsh has had a long career in law enforcement, in being an attorney. I'm not even going to be able to do him due diligence. So, Pat, tell my audience a little bit about yourself. Thanks
Yeah.
for being here tonight.
Well, thanks for the invite to be here. We're going to have some fun. Yeah. I did everything kind of butt backwards. I was actually from 1982 to 1986. I was a prosecutor. Graduated right out of law school in '82 and jumped into the prosecutorial world. And when I was 28, I came home one evening after a long day of work. My wife goes, "You're always in a pissy mood when you come home. You don't like what you're doing. What do you really want to do?" And I said, "Well, I wanted to be a cop since I was 9 years old." She said, "Then go do it." And we'd been married 6 years at that point. We just had our 45th wedding anniversary in September. And so she stuck with me with all the stuff I went through in law enforcement, 26 years. And I retired in 2012 and got back in the game. We moved out of Ohio, moved to Colorado, and I ended up going to work with Colorado Springs PD as a civilian criminal investigator. And for 3 years, all I did was work human trafficking cases. And finally, I'm like, I really am too old for this game. So I retired from being the law enforcer kind of career. And I've been an adjunct professor for an institute out of the University of Louisville since 2012 when I retired. And so now I'm on the national training and speaking circuit for law enforcement.
That's awesome. I gotta ask. You always wanted to be a cop.
Mm.
How did you decide you wanted to go to law school and go down the route of being a prosecutor? How did that happen?
Well, so I told you before we went on the air, I was born in Dublin, Ireland. I don't have the accent because I was adopted to the United States when I was about 16, 18 months old. But genetically, I am wired, full-blown Irish Catholic. I have the gift of gab, and I've never met a
Never met a
stranger.
stranger.
Never met a stranger. And but everybody always told me, including my parents, "Oh, you're going to make a great lawyer." And so I just figured, well, I guess that's supposed to be my calling, and that's what I did. I started college when I was 17. Went straight to law school out of college, and then when I got out, I really did not like law school. I didn't like, quite frankly, I didn't like the people that were other law students. They were pretty arrogant, and so I thought, well, the one thing I've always had a passion for was that law enforcement, and this is as close as I'm going to get to being there. So that's what I did, and I was good at what I did, but I didn't like what I was doing.
Yeah, you didn't have that fulfillment, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
well, and it does,
So,
and it's a vocation. I mean, it's a calling to go into law enforcement. It's not, you don't go into it because, well, it seems like a good idea at the time, kind of mindset.
yep,
So,
I agree wholeheartedly. Um, Once you decided to go to the police academy and you decided, hey, I'm staying in this career, did you stay up to date on all your, certifications to keep your law license active, or did you let it lapse, or
no, it's still active. I'm still licensed to practice law in Ohio, both state and federal court. I rarely take any cases. The last one I took actually was a year and a half, 2 years ago, and it was a civil RICO racketeering case. And but yeah, it's like, man, I worked hard to get this license. I'm just not going to let it slide. So I take my continuing education classes every year, and I can give legal advice to folks in Ohio or on federal. And that's one of the things I actually do. Part of why I'm teaching in the institute. It's the Southern Police Institute at the University of Louisville. Is I teach all the legal stuff. I, First, Second, Fourth, Fifth, Sixth, Eighth, 14th Amendment stuff. I teach federal administrative law and in a command officer development course. And so keeping my law license active makes me a better instructor in the classroom.
Yeah, for sure. I do got to ask because I'll forget. Once you started becoming an instructor, like in the law enforcement world, did they stick you with being the guy that taught the legal block every year as well?
I actually when I was on the police department, I actually was the only guy on the entire department that was certified in all the legal topics, and there's like 26, 27 of them through. It's called OPATA, but through Post, and so it was always an extra duty assignment for me while I was a cop to teach recruit academy classes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me ask you this: you go through the police academy. How long was your police academy?
16 weeks.
Was it
Yeah.
live in, or did you get to go home at night?
No, we went home. Dayton, Ohio, had their own police academy. We didn't take it. You know, you couldn't come to our academy unless you were hired by the Dayton Police Department. There was a
Okay.
community. Well, there was a community college that you could go to if you weren't sponsored by an agency, and I actually taught in their academies as well.
Okay. So it was an in-house academy.
Mm-hmm.
You finished that up. Tell me what's your favorite story from your patrol days? Dayton's probably a town where you see a lot of things and do a lot of things. What's your
Oh
favorite
yeah.
story? Let me rephrase that. Favorite story you can tell me.
The statute of limitations is running on everything. So,
Yeah.
oh man, I'll tell you, Dayton in my career. So I was there from 1986 to 2012. We were ranked the seventh most violent city per capita with a population of at least 150,000. Compton, California was number 9. Uh, so a lot of violence. I bet I have personally been on hundreds of homicides. But the one thing in any cop that's in an urban environment, well, any cop period, if you've been on a bunch of homicides, you will always remember your first one. And I'm telling you, homicide worked for me. I was the commander over violent crimes for 3 years. I have probably been on close to 300 homicides, but from that, I wouldn't call it my favorite, but the one I remember most vividly was my first one because it was a murder-suicide. And it was 3 weeks after I was out of the academy. And which really, it was so much different because I'd prosecuted murder cases, but all I saw was the photographs. It's a lot different
Yep.
when you're seeing it in person. So that would be one of the most, I guess, not memorable, but the one I can remember most vividly. But then the scariest one I ever had is a 15-year-old that was demonically possessed. And yeah.
I gotta hear about that. I fully admit to everybody listening. I love the paranormal stuff. I always have, even way before I became a cop. So I gotta hear this story.
And so I was on probation. Our FTO program was 9 months long probation. And so I was with my FTO. I'd been on, probably maybe 6 months. And we're back at the district headquarters doing some paperwork. And simultaneously, we get a call on the radio. They call our crew number, which my partner answers the radio because somebody was just banging the heck out of the back door, which normally the public doesn't use.
Right.
That's where we park our cruisers and our personal cars. I mean, just beating on the door. And so I go to the door, and this lady is just hysterical that her son has put his arm through a glass window and she needed help. And the dispatch we're getting is to her house. She lived in an apartment building, or kind of what do you call it? Like a row house.
A duplex.
Because she had called 911 and then hung up and then ran to the police station, which was only a couple blocks away. Wow. So we tell her to stay put. We jump in the cruiser. The FTO was Charlie Conrad was driving, and as we're coming down the street, we see the kid. He's walking like a zombie, just kind of. And we thought he had a knife in his hand. It turned out to be a large shard of glass. And he's on the sidewalk, so he's on my side. So I jump out, and Charlie jumps out, but Charlie swings around behind him. And the kid I don't think he even realized Charlie was there. And we're screaming at him to drop the knife. We had carried 38s. So I, had cleared leather, and I was at the low ready, but I'm yelling at him. He's probably 15, 20 feet away, but he's just kind of walking real slow, short steps. Charlie comes up behind him and just bear hugs him, lifts him off the ground, and the kid, he did drop the shard of glass, and then actually takes him down in the street by our cruiser. And it was his right arm. He had cut the artery in his arm, so blood's splitting everywhere. Charlie was a competitive police power lifter. I mean, he was strong, built like, strong. So he's trying to control him. He yells at me, "Pop the trunk." We didn't have medic kits or anything like that, but we did carry tampons and Kotexes in our cruiser trunk thing.
Yeah, they're great
for this. Yeah, for this, so and there was a towel back there as well. So I grabbed a handful of Kotexes, and he's face down. He's trying to bite the cruiser tire, and this isn't the demonic part. It comes next. So we called for a medic, which was only a couple blocks down the street from where we're at. Seemed like forever for them to get there. So it was a male driver medic and then a female passenger medic. So, they bail out, they grabbed a gurney. We had handcuffed the kid, and I never let go of putting pressure on his arm. So we get him face down on the gurney, and they shove it in, lock it in place. The female medic jumps in the back with us, but there's nothing she can do because we can't let go of this kid. And he starts growling like a dog, and he takes the sheet on the gurney, and he's just shredding it, shaking his head back and forth. And then he looks at this girl, and I mean, in a made-for-TV movie, in a very guttural voice, he starts telling this female medic what he's going to do to her, sexually assault her, all very vivid. And then suddenly he stops, he starts crying, and he's whimpering, "Help me, please help me." Then this guttural voice comes back, "You can't have him, he's mine." And I'm just like, I carry a rosary with me. I have it in my pocket right now. I carry it everywhere. I would so badly want to pull that rosary out and just like put the cross on it, because I'm thinking exorcist, thing going on here. And so I bang on the wall with my with my left hand because I'm putting pressure. Oh, I forgot that. Charlie is sitting on this guy's legs on the gurney. He got up on the gurney, and this kid is just doing leg lifts, lifting Charlie up in the air. And so I bang on the wall, and I'm yelling, "Go, go, go!" And we were probably 5 or 6 blocks from the hospital. So we get to the ER, the ambulance thing. They just grab him straight up to the OR, and we're done. And what he had done is he punched with his right hand. He had punched through a glass window, and then when he pulled out is when he cut his artery. So we didn't have a crime or anything like that. So the next day we go back to the hospital, and the same ER doc is on, and I'm going, man, what was that kid on last night? And he goes, absolutely nothing. No drugs, no alcohol, no anything. And he was kicking and fighting and everything until they, gassed him to put him under. And he even tried to fight that. And he goes, he lost a ton of blood. And he goes, they got the artery, they got the bleeding stopped and all that. But he had severed the tendon in his arm so bad that it, like in half, and one part shot up, up the arm, and the other part shut down. He goes, we could not reattach it. And he goes, his hand's going to be permanently deformed. I go, he wasn't on PCP. I mean, he goes, clean, everything came back clean. And then I'm going, okay, then that was all demonic. And that voice, it's like, holy crap. Yeah, that's the most scared I've been. And I've been in some things on the job, but that one
Did you ever
freaked
have
me
any
out.
interactions with that family again after that?
No, we were so busy. It was nothing for a one-man crew to take 30 calls in one night. I mean, we ran call to call to call. We were busy. Our department took over 300,000 calls a year.
Wow. So you coming on the middle 80s, early 90s, the crack epidemic happened. Was I'm sure that hit Dayton too.
Oh yeah.
But was that a reason why the violence spiked during that time frame? Because everybody's trying to get a piece of their illicit pie,
Uh,
or was it just always like that? Or
it was always like that. I-75 runs right through downtown Dayton, so it goes from the Canadian border to the down to like what's it, Naples, Fort Myers, Florida. It goes all the way down to Florida, and then it cuts over and dumps into Miami. So we call it a cocaine pipeline. That was the north south. If it was, because Detroit, Michigan was, I can't remember, 4 or 5 hours away from us, north of us. If a Michigan car was going south, they were carrying the money. If it was coming north, they were carrying the drugs. We had a lot of gangs, but they were all homegrown. We didn't have legit Crips and Bloods and that kind of stuff. So that most of our violence and homicides were related to drug trafficking. And Dayton was a GM town, and when the auto industry started taking the hit, Dayton took like Detroit, like Gary, Indiana, and so high poverty, all that, and dope. I mean, we're the cocaine capital of Ohio. Now they're the fentanyl capital of Ohio, because just north of the city limits of Dayton is I-70 going east and west. So, I mean, that was just that intersection of those two major highways made us a prime target for drug trafficking and everything else.
Yeah, that's not a good combination when you
No,
get those two major. And that's we see a lot of that in Tulsa too, because we have two interstates that run through there, and so um, it's just one of those things. Those major highways attract your bad characters, and that's I had to ask that because that's the height of violence, and I wanted to
but
ask.
yeah, no, it's actually a business model that they call it a 90-minute market in in legitimate legal business is wherever you're located in 90 minutes, that's going to be your target audience for your products or services or whatever. And it's the exact same with narcotics, exact same with human trafficking. You got, if you just start West Coast, I-5, I-25 here in Colorado where I'm at, I-25 goes from the Canadian border to the Mexico border, El Paso, Texas. And I-70 intersects that in downtown Denver or near downtown Denver. But I-5, I-25, I-75, I-95, and then go east to west, and you go 90, 80, 70, 40, 10. Where any of those intersect, you're going to have major law enforcement issues.
Yep, I wholeheartedly agree with that. So let me ask you. You kind of touched on it, and you said you led the violent crimes task force for a few years, and then you worked your way up to a supervisor role, being superintendent at the department. I want to ask because a lot of cops have always had that mindset of, well, I don't want to promote, I don't want to get in a leadership role, I don't want to be brass. Um, it takes a true leader to come out of their comfort zone to go into a leadership role. How did you finally decide that that's what you want to do?
Well, I didn't do it quickly. I always had. They did ask me in the oral review board, the application. You took the test, and if you pass that, then you do the oral review board, and then you had to take a physical and a polygraph, all that. So I'm at the oral review board, and the funny thing was, everybody on the board, I had prosecuted cases for them. I mean, I ran the grand jury, and so they all knew me. And they made a point. One of them made a point. He goes, "Yeah, you're going to be one of those guys that just comes on and rocket your way up and never really, learn how to be a good cop." And I told them that they were wrong, but that someday I would like to be chief here. But that's not why I'm coming on the department. So I didn't even test to start promoting until I had been on the job 7 years. In 1993, I took the test and made sergeant in 94. And of my 26 years on the department, 13 of it, I was on midnights. I was a midnight officer, a midnight sergeant, a midnight watch commander, and the street. I was when you want high drive.
Yep.
I actually kind of got in trouble, not in trouble. I got dressed down a little bit by a supervisor, my lieutenant, when I was a sergeant. He goes, "Do you realize that you have more arrests and wrote more tickets and more self-initiated activity than some of your officers?" And he goes, "That's not leading by example. That's doing somebody else's job for them." And that was a tough lesson for me to learn. But I've always had that drive to be in the middle of things. And even as a lieutenant, I also got called on the carpet that I had made in 6 months, had made more arrests and wrote more tickets as a district commander than some officers on a shift. So and that when I became superintendent, which was the rank was major, I was in patrol. It was operations, but I commanded narcotics for 3 years. I commanded all detectives, not just violent crimes, but from misdemeanor all the way up to homicide. I was responsible for all of them. That's about 60, 70 detectives, and I don't know, I think I had like 10 or 12 sergeants.
What was your favorite role?
Narcotics. As the 3 years over there, we averaged about 100 search warrants a year. And our policy in our department was a lieutenant had to supervise those. and I was the only lieutenant in narcotics. I had guys that worked from 4 a.m. to I'm sorry, 6 a.m. between the different units and squads, 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. And I was the only lieutenant over all that. So I supervised, I'd work split shifts, come in, work 8 in the morning till noon, go home, and then come back at 5 o'clock because we had a search warrant to do at 8 o'clock, kind of deal. But that was the absolute most fun because we were getting dopers and guns and dope, and that's where I developed most of my informants in my career, which then when I went from narcotics to command of the investigations division, man, I had guys calling. I had one guy call me once and he goes, "Hey, this dude has ordered up some dope and he's already robbed 8 banks in Ohio and Indiana. Do you want him?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah." So I walked over to the robbery squad and said, "Suit up, boys. We're about to go get us a bank robber." So
That's awesome.
it was fun, but it wasn't as fun as being in narcotics.
That's awesome. I love it. So I want to talk about your warrior servant leader platform.
Mm-hmm.
The mindset. Let's jump into that. Tell me about that.
Okay. So years ago, I took a leadership class by a guy named William Westfall, Bill Westfall, and at the absolute best leadership training I'd ever been, and it was department sponsored, and it was for sergeants and above. It was mandatory, and his bottom line message to us and was that you always have to strive to do the right thing at the right time, the right way, and for the right reasons. And that really stuck with me. And I'm a novice student, if you will. I mean, of Sun Tzu and the Art of War, and I've studied him. And it turns out the things that Sun Tzu was teaching when he talked about the way, the weather, the terrain, and leadership, it was those same principles Westfall was teaching. And so I just really dove into studying leadership, and I started writing articles for Law Enforcement Today and some other online magazines and some other platforms. And it just developed into, hey, this whole thing about you need to be a warrior. And I have to define, because a lot of people, when they hear, they go, "Oh, yeah, don't use the word warrior, yeah, use guardian or something." I go, no, because when I talk about warrior servant leadership, it's not just about policing. It's for parents. It's for kids in school, grade schoolers even. You can be a warrior servant and leader at a very young age, because I define a warrior as a person that stands up, shows up, and defends what they believe. And parents do that. You stand up and defend your kids. You stand up and you defend your faith. You defend your values and your ethics. And that's what a warrior does. And sometimes you do have to go in law enforcement, go hands-on battle, but that's not the vast majority of your time. And then a servant is a person that puts the wants and needs of others before their own. In my lifetime, probably now she's a saint, but Mother Teresa of Calcutta. And then a leader is simply a person that is of influence and impact on somebody else. And it's not about bars, stars, and stripes, whether it's in the middle. And I've taught thousands of military folks, and I've taught thousands of cops. That's positional leadership. True leadership is you could be a rookie on your first day out of the academy and be in a leadership position on a call for service.
100%.
So, and I take my philosophy is you wear all three of those hats at the same time. You just need to know when and how to execute the right one at the right time.
100%.
So
I'm that's actually what I'm working on my doctorate in right now, is in leadership. And I actually just got a they call in Oklahoma they call it cleat, but
yeah,
I just got a leadership class, a 2-day one, accredited, and that's actually part of my class. And I love that you touched on it. Is that
uh,
you're a leader from day one once you put that badge on.
right, yeah.
Regardless of
What
rank, you're a leader,
right,
because
and
if
it's
you're
the
the only
same
person
thing
that
though.
shows up,
Oh
I
yeah,
want you to be able to handle the situation appropriately, effectively, and efficiently.
yeah,
And you got to be a leader to do that.
yeah. And I go even a step further, that you got to be a warrior and a sir. You got to know. I had a guy once. I call it Mini Mike Tyson. Is I the sergeant who used to be my partner before he got promoted. We were a 2-man crew. He's a black belt in judo. I mean, could kick ass and take names, kind of guy. But he he was not a head splitter or an ass kicker, but he could take care of business if it needed to be taken care of when appropriate. So he calls my crew number on the radio and tells me to respond to this address. And I get there and there's an ambulance, there's a cruiser that belongs to a 2-man crew, and then there's the sergeant's cruiser. And I go in to this little bungalow house, and two things immediately were that it was an old house. It didn't have drywall. It had actual plaster walls.
Wow.
And when I walk in the front door, in the living room's, probably 10 by 10. I mean, this small bungalow house. And what I hear and see is this plaster wall. There's a pile of plaster on the floor. And on the other side of that wall, I hear this very rhythmic banging into the wall, followed by the words, "Oh God," boom, "Oh God," boom, "Oh God." So that I hear that. I see 4 or 5 adults, and this was a African American family and in neighborhoods. 95%. The whole district was 95% African American. And then the sergeant, who's African American, he's standing there with his arms crossed like this, and the 2 officers are standing next to him. So I walked, 6, 7 feet over to him, and there's a bedroom door, but I don't look around to see what's going on. But the whole time is this boom, "Oh God," boom, "Oh God." So I go, "What's up, Sarge?" He goes, "Well, we've been here almost an hour. We can't get this guy out of this bedroom, taking the hospital for a mental, we call it a pink slip, a 3-day evaluation. And you're the smallest guy on duty tonight. So I want you to go in, just kind of dive on top of him. The other 2 officers, they're going to come in and try and get control of him. And we didn't have tasers. We didn't have pepper spray. We all used our flashlights like a baseball bat.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, what's the medic for? He goes, "Well, it's either going to be you or him is going out in the medic." And I'm like, I know what's going to happen is these 2 cops, they're going to come in swinging, and my head's going to be between them and the guy I'm on top of. So I said to the sergeant, I go, "Is it okay if I talk to the guy first?" And he goes, "Yeah, go ahead. We've been here almost an hour. Nothing's working." And the whole time, he's sitting on the floor. And when I turn the corner, I'm like, my God, that's Mike Tyson. He shaved head, no shirt, no shoes, no socks, sweating profusely. It's wintertime. It's not that hot in the house. And he's just catatonic, and he's just doing this. So I kind of like measured his arm length and then stayed a few steps away from that. And I squatted down. I go, "Hi, my name's Pat. What's yours?" Boom, "Oh God," boom, "Oh God." I tried a couple more times. Nothing's working. So I go out in the family living room. I said, "Who's his mama?" And this older black woman says, "I am." I said, "Is your son a religious guy?" And he was about 28 years old. She goes, well, my husband died a couple months ago. He was the pastor at our little small church, and they were really close. And my son's been separated from his wife. He has a couple kids. He's working 3 jobs. And tonight he just snapped. And this is what's been going on all evening. And I said, okay, thanks. So I go back in, I squat down, and this is that servant leadership of putting the wants and needs of others before your own, and being a person of influence and impact, and not trying to go hands on and get in a fight and somebody's going to get hurt.
Yep.
So I squatted down and I just said, who do you pray with? And he stopped rocking and he turned and looked at me, and his eyes were normal. They weren't dilated or anything like that. And I'm like, good, he's not on drugs. And he goes, nobody. I said, well, isn't there something in scripture that says 2 or more gathered, God's there with you? And he goes, yes, sir. And I'm like, dang, he's polite too. And so I go, hey, if I agree to pray with you, will you agree to be a gentleman, stand up, get dressed, let me take you to the hospital, talk to somebody about what's going on in your life? And he said, yes, sir. I said, then get up and get dressed. And he did. No handcuffs. I walked him out to the cruiser. He did right in the back behind the cage. He didn't want him freaking out on me. And then I said a little prayer with him, took him to the hospital. And I did my paperwork for the 3-day, and I left. And I went back the next night, and the same ER doc is working. And I go, how's that guy that I brought in last night? He goes, oh, we've already released him. I go, what? He goes, oh, yeah, he's got pneumonia and had 102 fever. That's why he was sweating so bad. And he was just having a little bit of a breakdown, but it wasn't not a mental health type deal. He was just exhausted. And so, we got him on antibiotics and everything, and he was released, earlier today. And that's what I tried to convey to people is you have to have that mindset in your personal life, in your work life, whether you're a cop or not, in your faith life, if you have one, you have to have that mindset so that you can know. I mean, even Jesus made a whip out of cords and, ran the money changers out, but
Yep.
you got to know when is the right time to go hands-on, and otherwise it's be that servant and be that leader and so that you can have a positive impact and not be on the national news.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. I want to talk about, with how long you did, how did you fight burnout?
Sometimes not so well. I was on the receiving end of some malicious conduct by some higher ups, all the way up to deputy chief, and I had panic attacks because of it, and I went to see a psychologist and got counseling, and I couldn't sleep, and Xanax and all that kind of stuff. But I think mostly and that period of time was about 1.5 years long, and my dad had just died like 6 or 8 months before all this jumped off, and I was falsely accused of stuff, and I was exonerated of everything in the long run. But actually, what kept me grounded the most is my wife is extremely faith-filled person. We're Roman Catholic. She was raised Episcopalian, converted to Catholicism. So I always had, what's the word I want to use? I always had a good foundation,
Yep.
but not scriptural type deal. And but my wife did, and she was 20 years. She was involved in the Women's Bible Fellowship, and we got into a Bible study together with other cops, and so I was in my 30s and 40s before I really started to get into and understand Scripture and believe the promises and the commands, and that helped me in my burnout stages when I had them. And then this happened, and I was 13 years into my career. It was 1999. The best book I've ever read about the mindset and psychology of cops and why you get there. And it's called Danger, Duty, and Disillusion, A Worldview of the LAPD by Joan Barker. And he came out in 1999. And I read that and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's me right there. How does she know this about me? Kind of, that's as I'm reading it. And that got my attention. And I realized that we all go through these stages, and the burnout is disillusionment that you just, I didn't sign up for this. People don't understand what I'm going through and all those kinds of things. And how do you make healthy resolutions? Because a lot of guys on the burnout, they retire on duty. They quit the profession. They lateral entry someplace else thinking it's going to be better, and it's not. And they've lost their idealism, their altruism. Why did you become a cop in the first place? Because we all said it. I want to help people.
Yep.
Well, how did we get you back to that idealism? And that's what her book was about. And it made an incredible difference. And then totally unrelated, unrelated. My wife was diagnosed with ovarian cancer in 04, and with 3 daughters and 2 sons. So those were kind of some, and she obviously, because we're still married, that she survived, but she actually experienced a honest to God, full-blown miracle that even the doctor says this isn't medically possible. And, I'll never tell anybody it's a miracle, but there's no way that what happened when they opened her up to it was supposed to be a 4-hour surgery. What they found or didn't find, a combination of stuff. So that seeing those, I call them holy moments, really impacted me. Impacted me to the point. Well, and I retired in 2012. Then our youngest son died serving overseas in 2015. So you talk about, I can fully appreciate the wailing and gnashing of teeth when they talk about it in Scripture. I get that. It's real. And in 2018, I wrote a book kind of that chronicled my faith life. And so a lot of those things is now in hindsight, I can see where God was right there working through things, even though I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
That was a really long
that.
answer. That's a long answer to your question, but that's it.
But you nailed it. I love it.
It's a combination of things, and seriously, it is 100%. I'm 68 years old. The only reason I'm here is because of the faithfulness of God. I mean, my birth mother was a widow, 39-year-old widow when I was born. When I was 3 days old, she put me in an orphanage in Dublin, Ireland. And from that time forward, I can look back and see the hand of God working in every aspect of my life that I didn't necessarily see at the time.
Right. I love that. Couple things I want to touch on. I want to ask because I saw. Are you presenting at the ILETA conference next year?
No.
I thought I saw your name on there, so I asked. But are you familiar with ILETA?
Yeah, I used to be a member.
Okay.
So I stay involved a little bit with IACP, and then I graduated from the FBI National Academy, so I'm a little bit involved with the NA. But I was a member of ILETA, but I never got active, mostly because I was probably
Right.
involved in too many other things at the same time. I overextended myself.
Well, I say this to say next year, I think you should present your course to them and present it because I feel like it's geared specifically for trainers, and
Yeah.
I feel like your message would hit home there.
Oh,
So
I
I
appreciate that.
encourage you to do that.
Well, I will look into that. I just presented a 3-hour version of an 8-hour class as the keynote trainer at the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Officers Association conference, and yeah, it's amazing. Nobody shares this kind of. I even talk about Mike Tyson. Everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth, and I said I'm here to
Hmm.
punch you in the mouth a little bit, and and be upfront. I'm not an academic. This isn't uh, what do you call it? Hug a thug,
Yeah.
uh, kind of stuff. This is I know for a fact how these things. My best informant, um, uh, actually, his grandson killed somebody in a drug deal gone bad, and took off. And my informant called me and goes, "You're the only cop I trust. I want to turn my grandson into you." And it wasn't even a Dayton case; it was another agency's case. And I said, "What? Why do you feel that way?" He goes, "You're the only cop that ever treated me as a human being in respect, despite my criminal history." And he'd done federal time, he'd done state time, but I treated him with respect, and that's not a weakness. And a lot of cops, a lot of people uh, feel like, oh no, I got to be the tough guy, or they do this. The worst advice you've ever received, and then when you're a police officer and you're in a position of authority, and you can take somebody's freedom away, or, arrest them. The worst advice I ever got was, if you want something done right, do it yourself. And that's not leadership; that's dictatorship.
Yeah.
And we get myopic, the tunnel vision as a police officer, that you put the gun and badge on and you take things personally. They hate your uniform; they don't hate you. And they have their own stories of bad encounters and all that kind of stuff. Um, don't take that personally.
Yep. I agree wholeheartedly. So where can everybody reach out to you at?
The easiest way is it's called the Warrior Servant Leader Podcast.com. That's kind of my clearinghouse. Um, that's just the easiest way to get a hold of me. I'm on LinkedIn, Pat Welsh, JD, J as in Juris Doctorate, because there's a Pat Welsh who's like some famous lady gardener, and that would get people. Yeah, I'm not that Pat Welsh. So I I put the JD behind my name on platforms because it distinguishes me from this famous lady. But
Right.
the best way is the Warrior Servant Leader Podcast.com.
I love it. So I've been into my podcast with a new thing I've been doing. And Pat, if today was your last day on this earth, what would be your message to improve the next generation of first responders?
Wow. Uh, it would be my best advice would really be do the right thing at the right time, the right way, and for the right reasons. That's a great moral compass, whether you have a faith life or not. But if you do have the faith life, that means love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And you do that, you can walk through the valley of death and have no fear. So I'm huge on you can't go through life without having a faith life.
I love it. Pat, thank you for joining me tonight. It's been my pleasure to have you, and you are always welcome back on here.
Oh, I appreciate you, man. I'm glad we finally were able to make it happen because we had such conflicting schedules and everything.
Yeah,
So, no, thank you, and I'd love to come back on um, and add whatever value I can. And I want to hear about your PhD thing because that's
absolutely. You let me know, and I'll make time to come on your show. You let me know.
okay. When we jump off here, I'm gonna send you an invite. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So, Pat, thank you so much, and thanks for joining me. Okay.
all right, thanks, Brent.